All right, Polygon, Matic. So this is going to be an analysis for a good friend of mine, Jay. Shout out to you. Jay, here's what I see, man. So first and foremost, I understand that Matic just did a migration to POL. All right, and I read their white paper a little bit, and I understand that they're now using the POL coin. But the reason we're going to use the Matic USD chart from Bitstamp is so that we can get the data from 2021, because I think that's really important to look at. All right, first things first, I don't like what I'm seeing on Matic, and I'm gonna show you some things to watch out for that can make this thing really bullish. But right now, it's not in the best position, and I'm going to explain some things as to why I think that. So here on the 3-month chart, the very first thing I noticed was in the past, we had this ICT fair value gap right here, okay, on the 3-month. Take a look at the behavior here. So after forming this gap, the next 3-month candle, which was October 2022, came in, tested this imbalance, and then respected it, all right? The following candle, January 2023, went further into the imbalance, and this on this candle is when we exited external liquidity below this low, okay? And we can further see that if I drop down to the weekly, you can see the sequence of events, right? So here, right here, is where all the buying started happening. This right here is when we went into the gap the first time and then came back down, went further into it the second time. And so look at this. Price goes into it first, further, before the exit. So this is a true internal to external setup. Okay, so all the buyers who were in here, all throughout here, their stop losses are below their entry all along here, right? So stop losses below here, and then as price is moving higher, they're trailing, 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 trailing. And then after price hits this high in this 1 week, it takes out all those buyers to the left. Okay, so after wiping the table, essentially, right, literally going right below that low and being snatched back up, we get this kind of descending price action of lower highs and essentially eventually lower lows. Here's what I see right now on the 3-month. This is what you're going to want to keep your eye on. Right now, we're starting to see the same formation again with this 3-month imbalance right here. And I'm on the logarithmic chart. You can also see it on the regular, right? So if I just, you can see it here. It just looks a little cleaner on log. But you see this. This is what you're going to want to keep your attention on right here, all right? This candle is the last candle for this quarter. And you can see right now we're pushing, the candle body is above the imbalance itself. And you know that's a first sign of a bearish imbalance being invalidated, but it's not final, right? Look just over here. When these candles were open, at one point, they too were cutting through the fair value gap, right? This was once a green candle. This was once a large green candle, right? The closure is what's going to matter. So even though this looks bullish, it may not be bullish. It could just be pulling back for a new lower low. So that's something you're going to have to watch for. And because this setup is forming on the 3-month, if you're talking about in terms of an investment, right, you're holding, you're going to have to wait for these 3-month candles to open and close to get a true depiction of where price wants to go. Okay. But first and foremost, pay attention to how price either respects this gap or disrespects this gap. Okay. The very next thing you'll see is if I drop down to the monthly, look at this. Right above the 3-month imbalance, you have a fresh bearish monthly imbalance that hasn't even been touched yet. Even now, at the time of this video, we have not entered this gap. So you have a 3-month level of resistance and a monthly level of resistance. Okay, so that's why I say I'm not liking it too much right now. It's gonna take some patience to see what price wants to do, but ideally, here's what you want to happen. You want price to enter this monthly level and potentially give you an opportunity to buy on the sell-off, right? So let's say we go in here and we come back to test the 3-month, the top of this 3-month gap at around 68 down to 64 cents. That could be an opportunity to buy. But the very next thing is you want to see price cut through this gap. You need to see it cut through and go after $1.30, okay? $1.30 is going to be above this swing high right here. All right. So this would be the level that you'd want to see price go after first. The problem is, Jay, I don't see a reason right now as to why price is going to get above $1.30. And the reason I say that is because Polygon right now, they just don't have the traffic as something like Ethereum or Solana. Polygon really needs more developers, more projects, more games, more AI agents, whatever it takes to get that chain really moving again with traffic. I have not heard any new narratives for Polygon, and I could be completely wrong. If you guys know of any like news or things that are moving that chain forward, please comment below and I'd love to look into it. But I just haven't heard of any narrative that's going to help Polygon move in this bull market, right? The only other thing is just pure euphoria and the fact that Bitcoin is going higher. And if Bitcoin dominance takes a sharp drop, then yeah, perhaps Polygon would move. But you still need some type of fundamental backing to help that, right? Like in the video I did on HBAR, there was like 4 narratives with HBAR. I mean, we got an ETF filing, which means there's likely going to be more ETF filings. You have the fact that HBAR is literally being looked at in comparison to XLM and XRP, just for the technology, the partnerships. And so it's extremely undervalued when the project is just as good, if not better. And the volume is there, right? So you need something for Polygon to really latch on to the narratives that are floating around. And I haven't heard anything yet, okay? But from a technical standpoint, if I go back up to the 3-month, you need a sequence where we get a bullish order block. Look right here. We had a chance to turn these 2 down close candles into a bullish order block. If we would have invalidated this gap and price got above the all-time high and closed strong, then yeah, this thing would be very bullish. Same thing here. Look at these 2 down close candles. When price came up, we had a chance to close above here and form a bullish order block. So it would have looked something like this. Price would have come up, closed above this down close candle, and then found support and went higher. But that didn't happen. It just melted. Now we're back meeting that same situation where we have these 2 down close candles. Price is now going into an imbalance, just like over here. When the pullback came in, what we need is for price to close above $1, and it needs to close strong, right? So price needs to come up, right? So it has to cut through that 3-month gap. It has to invalidate that monthly gap, close above, pull back, find some support, and then you'll be on your way to higher prices, right? And you can start looking at levels like $1.56 and then all-time high, which is above like $2.60. But right now you're in a very bad area with no good structure on your side, okay? So again, I see a lot of resistance, but you're going to want to keep your eye on those 2 levels and see price get above $1.30. If I go out to the 6-month, here's what troubles me the most. The current candle took out the low of the previous candle, and now it's slowly pulling that liquidity higher. Your best chance is for price to get above the previous candle, okay? So essentially, you'd want the current candle to do what this candle, right? You see how it swept the low of the previous candle and took out the high? That's the best you can hope for this current candle, okay? Without a narrative, without something to help bring in more liquidity, it's not something that I personally would hold throughout this bull market for the sake of massive gains. Another thing that I looked at, take a look at this. So on CoinMarketCap, there's a bit of a discrepancy. So when I look at this, it says the total supply is 10.3 billion with no max supply, and current circulating is 8.35 billion. And this is the POL coin, right? So not the Matic. This is after the migration. But if I go to CoinGecko, CoinGecko says something a little different. Circulating supply is 1.9 billion, total supply 10 billion, max supply 10 billion. Okay, so I had to go a little further and check the actual contract address, and this is for POL, right? So we're not looking at the Matic token. This is post migration. Max supply is 10.3 billion. So that to me lets me know that they don't really have a max. They don't really have a max supply. Okay. Even though it says max total supply, if I look at the white paper, this is page 9. it states the initial supply of POL is 10 billion. Okay. The entirety of the initial supply should be dedicated for migration. So they keep using the word initial. And I usually try to read things just as it is. After this, it says once the migration is complete, the distribution of POL would essentially match the current distribution of Matic. But it doesn't say anything about a max supply. And that concerns me, you know, personally. Any coin that does a migration is already suspect to me, because anything that just seems like it's doubling the supply or changing the supply or can't state what an actual max supply is, if they can make more of it, what's the end game? Like, what's really the end game here as an investor? So that was something that concerned me because, again, I was looking for ways to think about, okay, how can Matic get to $5? Is there something that can get this coin to $5? And I just don't see it. The only other way Matic goes to $5 is from just sheer euphoria of the bull market. And that's not, man, I wouldn't bet on that, Jay. I really wouldn't bet on that. So without strong fundamentals or some type of backing besides just the bull market, Matic's gonna struggle. Polygon is gonna struggle. Okay. So one more time, put these levels on your chart, right? Put these levels on your chart on the monthly, put this monthly gap here and put alerts, right? And I'm gonna actually do something as well. I'm gonna put an alert first on the gap itself. So this is, let me just leave logarithmic. So this is price going into the monthly gap. And in the event that I'm completely wrong and price does go crazy high, I'm going to put an alert on $1.30 and I will update this analysis, because if we get above $1.30 and we can close, then we'll essentially have a 3-month order block. Okay. And then I can look at this as this downish trend changing. Okay. But until then, right now, it's still bearish. All right. I hope this analysis helped, and I will see you in the next one.